Hi there. I thought I'd come in and talk a bit about nature study and Australian specific nature books, and tips on how to get them, where to find them, that sort of a thing, what you're looking out for. So, most of the books I'm going to show you today are secondhand. Most of them I've gotten from the op shop or secondhand book fairs or people just getting rid of them, that sort of a thing. Only a couple of them have I bought brand new. So this is one I love that I got from the op shop, The Bush in Bloom, written by an Australian, a wildflower artist year in painting and words. So it's basically her nature journal, which is so cool for me and the kids to see an example of what it might look like. So she will paint the picture and then have a bit of information about it. That's the Australian hibiscus. And then goes through each month what she sees and a bit about it. So that's quite similar to how Charlotte Mason talked about doing nature journals, how you can add in flower lists, different plants, different animals. You write it when you see it the first time. So that's a little bit like this. So that's a really cool one to have. And all Australian specific things, which is so cool. Because I also have the one that most homeschoolers have, the Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady by Edith Holden. Most Charlotte Mason homeschoolers have that book. And of course, it's so beautiful and so worth having. I've gotten two of these actually from an op shop. So they're quite available. And that's the same sort of thing, like her painting what she's seen in nature and then writing little notes about it. So this one, The Bush in Bloom, is basically an Australian version of that book. Along a similar sort of theme, but different. It's not nature, but still cool that it's specifically Australian. The Diaries of Ethel Turner. This was another op shop find. So Ethel Turner was the writer of lots of awesome Australian literature, and this goes through her life and her actual diary entries, which that's super cool to me. This is another op shop find. This is Australian Wildflower Illustrations. So this is butterfly bush, lots of really cool Australian flora and fauna. I think this one's just, it's just wildflowers actually, this one. So it's also great to see for students as they're starting out doing their own nature journal to see how you might paint this. It's all watercolor as well, like Charlotte Mason said to do, brush drawing with watercolor. So look at that, how beautiful is the eucalyptus leaves. So cool. So that's another good one. What else? Op shops often have these kinds of books, The Natural Wonders of Australia and Nature of Australia. They're really good reference books for me as the teacher to read up on a thing before an object lesson or a nature walk and just get to know a little bit more about certain things. Like there's some extra information on heath. So that's a good one. And this one, Natural Wonders of Australia. You could pull from this for a geography lesson as well. If it's talking about a certain habitat or place, you could, ahead of the lesson time, have the page tabbed, and when it talks about that sort of a habitat, you could show it at the end of the lesson. So that's a good one. C.K. Thompson has done a lot of books about Australian animals. They're all wonderful. This is Maggie the Magnificent. Also Old Bob's Birds. That's another really good book to have. Bush Tucker Guide. This is written by a First Nations lady, Samantha Martin. It goes through and talks about each of the different bush tucker plants, and then it also gives some recipes and how they would have prepared them, what they did with it. So that's a good one as well. This, we went to what's it called? A local nature group anyway, and they were handing these out for free. And it talks about the different native things to our local area. When a bit of history about when it was first found and described, that sort of thing. So that was free, that one. This is Lizards of Australia. This was from an op shop. So it just goes through and describes all the different lizards of Australia with pictures and information. Top walks in Australia. An important part of a Charlotte Mason education is nature walks. So ideally you go for a walk in nature and have a look at what you can see every day, but once a week you would have a designated nature study time where you might do an object lesson and be on the lookout for a specific kind of thing. So this is helpful. Top walks in Australia. My family and I love bushwalking and hiking. So, and travelling around Australia as well. So this is bushwalks all around Australia. It's handy to have one of those. Similarly, Australia's Best National Parks, a visitor's guide. That was an op shop find. Similar sort of thing. Wildfires of 1994. Bushfires are a big part of Australia's natural landscape, and so that's handy. I've got lots of these sorts of ones just about Australian amphibians, Australian birds, Australian insects. These are all from the op shop. This is a reader by Steve Parish. It's his photography of platypuses, and it's an easy reader. So talking about a platypus's life and with actual photos. So that's a cool one. Again, that was from the op shop. How cool is this? This is, again, from the op shop. A birthday book showing some of Australia's birds, eucalypts, and a flower for each month by Mary Edwards. How cool is that? Grey butcherbird. What month are we in now? Let's look at February. February. Dusty wood swallow and eucalyptus swamp mahogany. That's a cool one. These were from Aldi, so often Aldi will have some good books that are Australia specific. So Australia's most extreme creatures of all different kinds. What's this one? Australia's most dangerous spiders. They've got, yeah, they're just to have a look at. They're not really lesson books or anything. Everyone needs an excellent field guide to birds. This is one that we like to use. I've got 2 copies of it, one in the car and one at home. That's a good one. More of Australia's birds. This one's cool. This was another op shop find, Backyard Bird Songs. It comes with a CD and it tells you what sound the different birds make, which has been really helpful. We've been able to identify a few extra birds than we had before, just after listening to the CD in this book and looking at the associated pages. I hope you're getting the picture that so much can be gotten from the op shop or second hand. So far, none of these have been brand new. So this is another land care resource which was free. Gives you an idea of what the native thing is and what it was used for by the First Nations people. That was really cool. We did a walk that went with that actually, and the land care people pointed the different things out and told us about them as we saw them. This is Australian Trees Field Guide. So, of course, the golden wattle. It's iconic Australia. All different ones, so that's really important. We have lots of different trees here. This is another really good one, a field guide to the fungi of Australia. It has photo pictures as well as lots of good details about what it might get confused with, distinguishing features, all of that. So that's a good one. I did buy that one brand new. I think that's the first one I've bought brand new so far. Endangered Australian Animals. Oh, Old Bob's Bird. I mentioned that before. C.K. Thompson. That's a fun read. These are some habitat books from the op shop. The Living Desert. This guy, Les Hiddens, he did a show as well that I think you can still see on YouTube or something like that. He's like sort of like Bear Grylls, but the Australian version, or Steve Irwin, that sort of thing. These are really good because it talks about more of the different parts of Australia rather than just New South Wales or Victoria, as a lot of them do. He's largely Central Australia or Northern Territory. Oh, this one is all about the top end. So that's cool. Australia's Amazing Birds and Animals. It's more for younger kids to have a look at and a bit of information on it. These sort of books can be really good as well for practicing reading if you're doing nature law. I've found that nature law books are often some of the best books to get started on when your reader is becoming more confident and ready to start reading some of their lesson books. Nature law are often the best ones to start with, especially when they've got pretty pictures as well. It just helps keep them more engaged. There's a whole series of these books. I've got them all. This is just one, the Possum Creek books. So this is the one about a drought. The animals go on adventures and teach you about something Australian. Some of them are a little bit silly, but sometimes a bit of silliness is fun. This is Australian Backyard Astronomy. Last year with my Year 4 student, I did astronomy as a subject in science, and this was helpful to see because most of the books are American or Northern Hemisphere. So this book was handy to see, to be more specifically Australian. Obviously, we see different constellations and things down here in the Southern Hemisphere than in the Northern Hemisphere, so that was handy. There's a whole series of these as well. The Australian Golden Book, Shep the Sheepdog. There's a whole bunch of different animals. They're just cute little stories that tell you about that kind of animal. That's fun. Okay, every Australian home should have this book, I think. The Wonderland of Nature by Nuri Mass. It's an excellent nature study book. Just like Charlotte Mason assigned Arabella Buckley's books. There's 6 in this series, Eyes and No Eyes series. This is one that I would put in that same category. All about Australian animals. So probably best for Form 1, like Year 1 to 3, but I still like it with older students as well. Yeah, if they haven't done it when they're younger, then definitely do it when they're older. Leslie Reese, she's amazing, and she has done a whole different series of different animals as well. Like Shy the Platypus, and there's a bunch, but this one's cool too. Curry Curry the Kookaburra. I found about 4 of these from op shops, so I don't think they're in print anymore, but I've seen them a lot at op shops, so definitely look out for those. These are some more habitat books here, like deserts, different deserts of Australia, and then that's got some Aboriginal information in it too. Australian cyclones. Most deadly and dangerous beasts of Australia. It's cool. Like I said, a lot of these are more reference books that I would know what I've got there and then look ahead of lesson time. If there was a story about, say, a deadly snake, then ahead of the lesson time I would look up information about that kind of snake here and tab it, so then after we did the lesson my students would narrate and then I might show them the pictures of it. This is Australian Animals A to Z. Pat Collins, she is an amazing resource. My family have done a few camps with her, and a lot of her workshops. She is a local lady to where I am, and she has a lot of knowledge of the local plants, their uses, all that kind of thing. And so this is her latest published book. She's got lots of them. I've got, I think, all of them. And it goes through what they all are, what their uses are, what to distinguish them from, all of that. And so it also includes like the medicinal information as well. So I would definitely recommend finding someone who is local to your area, because obviously each area can be quite different, and finding someone that you can go on an actual walk with, ideally, and see things firsthand with their information, and then, yeah, their resources for your local area. So important. This is a picture book, Old River Red Gum. Just a story about an old tree, its life cycle, what it sees living on the river, different Australian animals in that. Banjo Paterson is obviously one of our most important poets and writers. And so this book is cool because it combines his writing and some of his information with the places that he talks about in his writing. So it's cool to put a picture to the place. Ideally, you would go and visit the place, but short of that, having a good picture is the next best thing. That's a good book. Again, these are all from the op shop. That Pat Collins one I bought brand new. Other than that, they're all op shop. Mighty Murray. It's our river that is the boundary between New South Wales and Victoria, and it's very significant to us in lots of ways and has been historically. So this book talks about that, the history of it, what they've done, what plants grow along it. This is actually a really good book. I would definitely recommend this. The Explorers, Riverboats. That's a really good one. So that's Mighty Murray by John Nicholson. And a few more, just Frogs and Reptiles of Australia. And the last one I've got to show you right now is Australia's Freaky Animals. This is a story about a flood and its impacts. Floods are another normal part of Australian life, and so that's just a story about that. This is another Nori Mass book called Australian Wildflower Fairies. Tells you about a certain wildflower and then personifies it as a fairy. So just a cute way to learn the wildflowers. This is more of a geography book, but also to do with the animals. Tiger in the Bush and Devil's Hill. I got this from Living Book Press. Anthony has lovingly made these sorts of books available for us, which we're so happy about. Yeah, so that's about Tasmanian animals in story, novel form. And Amy Mack is another good author of Australian nature things, bushland stories. They've got stories. They remind me a little bit of Gatti's Parables of Nature. It's a little bit similar. They're sort of longer chapters, just nature stories. So you don't need to spend a lot of money to have good Australian resources. Just check out any op shop that's near you. Look at any local library book fairs, or a lot of the, like I know in Sydney, the Knox Grammar has a really good book fair that I've gotten a lot from. And the Lifeline book fairs. Yeah, and then often if people are just getting rid of books at, I don't know, a garage sale or something like that, have a look. And yeah, I bet you'll find some really good Australian nature books. Thanks.